Like, imagine that. Like, all of these things, all of the responsibility that it has for keeping everything in check. And it's,
I really disrupted my skin barrier.
the key to a good skin barrier is, do you know how thick your skin barrier is?
Whatever it is, mine's at the top of that average range.
It's thinner than a piece of cling film. Like, imagine that. Like, all of these things, all of the responsibility that it has for keeping everything in check, and it's thinner than a piece of cling film.
We used to think the skin barrier wasn't that important. It was thought of this sort of just dead layer that just sort of sheds off, doesn't do anything. But it's such a dynamic layer in our skin.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I know.
So what exactly is the skin barrier?
So our skin barrier is that very, very, very top layer of cells. And these cells are arranged like a little brick wall. And one of their primary functions is to keep moisture and hydration within our skin. And if that skin barrier isn't as effective, so if that brick wall isn't together, tightly packed together as neatly as it should be, then water can escape more readily, and then your immune system reacts to that dryness, and you can start off this immune cascade, which often leads to sensitivity, irritation, redness, dryness, etc.
And then it comes down to whenever there's problems that then happen with the skin barrier. And this can be either because genetically you aren't able to make a skin barrier that's quite as good as somebody else's, but also we can damage our skin barrier because we can use products that are too harsh. We can be in environments that are going to be too problematic. And all of these things can disrupt and damage the skin barrier. And so whenever that barrier is disrupted, then that's whenever people run into issues of things like redness, dryness, irritation, spots actually as a consequence of a disrupted skin barrier. And then this disrupted, the barrier being disrupted itself can then disrupt the skin microbiome. And that leads quite nicely on to the skin microbiome.
So the skin microbiome is this ecosystem, this environment of different bugs, different bacteria, viruses, yeast, fungi.
Do you know how many bacteria you have on 1 centimeter squared of your skin?
I love these random facts that you come out with. No.
Because I quiz my children. I'm like, this is the only way they remember. They don't remember things, but they remember fun facts.
How many?
Yeah, so on our skin, we have about 1 million bacteria for every square centimeter. Like, that's so much, isn't it? It's almost more cells that are not us than are us.
These are all designed to protect us. And if our ecosystem is living in harmony with a real lovely mix of different things, if our skin ecosystem, our skin microbiome is living in harmony, then it serves to protect us and it serves to function in our best interest. But if you get a variation in our skin microbiome, so if there's an overgrowth of a particular bacteria or if there's an overgrowth of a particular yeast, then sometimes this can present with clinical signs on our skin. So some of the skin conditions that we see from an overgrowth of a yeast called malassezia in our skin, that can present with these scaly brown or like these white marks or red marks that often present on people's backs.
And I think even conditions where, pretty common skin conditions like eczema, we know that in areas where the eczema lesions may well be appearing, that the skin microbiome is disrupted at those areas. And so there is this idea that in preserving the skin microbiome where you can, then that's going to lead to better health of the skin overall. But it's not like there is a magic cream that you can just give to somebody to keep their skin microbiome working well. It doesn't work like that. But what you can do is make sure that you're not using things that are deliberately disrupting the skin microbiome.
Yeah, and when we think about antibiotics that we give for patients for certain inflammatory skin conditions, one of the things that they always worry about is their gut microbiome. And there's a great interplay between our gut microbiome and our skin microbiome. And actually, by taking antibiotics, you are affecting your skin microbiome, but that's how you're reducing the inflammatory component. So something like acne, the bug Cutibacterium acne is proliferating and really thriving in this oily environment on our skin. And the medication that we give is to try and reduce that inflammatory component and also to help reduce the amount of oil, so then you can get that environment back to normal, and so that bug doesn't proliferate and thrive in the way that it does in acne.
And then when we think about what a damaged skin barrier is, there are certain conditions that predispose us to having a weakened or a damaged skin barrier in some pretty common conditions. So we think about something like eczema, for example.
Yeah, so in eczema, people don't make this protein called filaggrin in an optimal way. So it means that your skin cells, your skin barrier doesn't stick together as nicely. So you've got these little gaps in your skin barrier, and so more water is escaping, and your immune system almost overreacts to those dry conditions, and it causes this inflammatory response where you get this red, itchy, flaky, scaly patches that can develop on your skin.
And then even in conditions like psoriasis, where you get this real rapid turnover of those skin cells, and that rapid turnover then ends up meaning that things are kind of disrupted on the surface again. So you get this, a fairly common skin condition contributing to an impaired skin barrier. And then even things like just normal aging of the skin, because with normal aging of the skin, that kind of mortar aspect of the brick and mortar at the very top of the skin barrier is just not made quite so well. It doesn't have the kind of lovely oiliness that it perhaps had in youth, and therefore it does mean that more water is lost. So even just age itself can disrupt the skin barrier. And then there's times that people just disrupt their own skin barrier because they are using products that are not appropriate for their skin type. There's nothing wrong with these products. It's just that they are not suitable for the type of skin that some people have. So, when my daughter went to a very luxury, high-end cosmetic store and bought a whole load of cosmetics that were actually aimed at middle-aged women, and she kind of put them on her very young teenage skin, she disrupted her skin barrier.
Or when a dermatologist that should know better, i.e. me, goes to a dermatology conference and is given loads of freebies and just wants to try all of them out. And I massively disrupted my skin barrier. I actually developed I really disrupted my skin barrier. My skin was so flaky, it was so sensitive. I then couldn't put anything on my skin. And then I developed this micropustular rash. And I remember doing a clinic just quite soon after the British Association of Dermatology annual meeting. So away we go, get all of this free stuff and want to try it all on. And I was a registrar at the time, so I was fairly new to the dermatology game, so I just got a bit overexcited basically. And one of the consultant dermatologists looked at me and goes, "What on earth have you done to your face?" I was like, "I've just got really overexcited at the conference." Just chucked everything on there. So even those of us that should know better sometimes get carried away, but it really is from overusing and slapping on everything and anything because you see a marketing claim that might say, get glowy, gorgeous, luminous skin. And you think, I'll slap that on. And then you see something else or say, have this wonderful, blur-like perfection. Slap a bit of that on.
But instead, you used the one that said, get crusty, micropustular skin on your cheeks.
Yeah.
Oh, but it never says that, does it?
It didn't.
But it does go to show that the key to a good skin barrier is actually very boring, very repetitive, very kind of minimal topical chemicals going on your skin. If we think about every single bottle of skincare, it's just a load of chemicals, and quite a lot of those loads of chemicals can often irritate the skin barrier. Even just using the wrong cleanser is going to disrupt the skin barrier. In fact, it's probably one of the greatest things for disrupting the skin barrier. So I think it is, it is so exciting whenever we see all of these products, but actually the same thing going on most days, if it's the right thing, is the thing to do.
And we should also talk about abrasive things that can disrupt your skin barrier. So this desire to have a facial and to sort of have all of your blackheads to be picked and popped and extracted, I think that can actually damage people's skin barrier quite a bit because that sort of mechanical force and the trauma that they're delivering to their skin can make things a whole lot worse. So people with acne, I've seen quite often, will go for a cleansing facial or an exfoliating facial, and then they'll damage their skin barrier and run into even more problems. So I always advise people to just take it gently, strip things back, use evidence-based ingredients that are going to actually be helpful for your skin condition.
And then the flip side of that is doing absolutely nothing at all with your skin, which we talked about before in the caveman trend. I mean, that is to a completely different extreme altogether, which I think in itself is problematic because, washing your face is a good idea. Washing the dead skin cells away, washing the dirt, the pollution, washing the oils off the skin. Simply washing your face is a very good idea. And for quite a lot of people, after washing their face, their skin can be a bit dry. So putting on a moisturizer is a good idea. And putting on your SPF to protect yourself from ultraviolet radiation is a good
Great
idea.
idea.
So those three very basic things really should remain. Washing your face, moisturizing if you need it, and putting on your SPF. This idea of the caveman trend where you don't do those very basic things is kind of crazy for
I
me.
wonder how she's getting on.
I don't know.
Yeah, we need to do a little TikTok check-in.
And for those of you who don't know, the caveman trend was one of these TikTok trends, and it was all sparked by an influencer who didn't wash her face for months. And you can see the consequences of that, essentially, if you decided to embark upon that journey.
Please don't.
Wash, cleanse.
A common misconception is that using ingredients like tretinoin, so topical retinoids, can damage your skin barrier. And in the beginning, it can irritate your skin for sure. And so you need to do things gradually, build up your skin's tolerance to them. But actually with time, so with 6 to 9 months of using regular tretinoin, actually helps to build up your skin barrier. So, I mean, there are all these beautiful images in published high quality journals that show that your skin barrier actually thickens up, and actually your dermis, your epidermis and your dermis also thickens up quite significantly with regular consistent tretinoin use at certain percentages. So I think it's 0.04 that the study was based on as a minimum percentage, and long-term use of those can really help your skin.
Yeah, I think that's really important because people often will give up too early. And, I even think of some of my patients who have, quite severe eczema and have been told, oh, you can never use a retinoid. But on the right retinoid journey, and it is a prescription retinoid of tretinoin, but on that right journey, getting to those exact doses that you need to, over a sustained period of time, it improves the quality of the skin. So that skin barrier is improved. And for many people, they think, oh, I could never use it. But actually, the opposite is true. It is a bit hard for some people at the very beginning. But with the right kind of treatment and that very consistent approach, it does make a big difference. And one of the things I really like is seeing patients back who say, I couldn't actually wear makeup before because my skin was always so dry and had, scaly bits on it. But actually now I can, my skin is smoother as a consequence of it. So I do think that people who do have more severe forms of eczema or feel like they have very dry skin and the retinoids are not for them, if they have an indication for it, it's certainly worth persisting with. And so if you've got a damaged skin barrier, what would you recommend? What's your kind of number ones, 2, 3s?
So my number one would be a moisturizer that's got good humectant, so to draw water in, good occlusive, so to keep water within the skin, and a good emollient, so like conditioning ingredients that can help to moisturize the skin. And I normally recommend something like La Roche-Posay Lipicard Balm, which you can use on the face as well. I normally reserve it as like a moisturizer for the skin.
I use that on my face.
Yeah, but I think if you've damaged your skin barrier, it's a really lovely product to just try and get things back intact.
And I also really like this idea of trying to almost recreate what the mortar is in the skin barrier. So using that lovely complex that is a combination of ceramides, free fatty acids and cholesterol. I love that combination of being able to try and almost exactly replace that mortar in the skin. And I did put that in the dry formulations of the day script. It is very expensive, actually, but that combination is really lovely. So I would also urge for that.
The other range I really like is Aven Tolerance range. And then I also like the Uriage range, the Bariderm Cica, and that's their sort of barrier repair range, which is lovely.
And I also think as well, cleansing is so important. It shouldn't be a forgotten step. And I do really like the Cetaphil Gentle Cleanser for people who have a disrupted skin barrier. Some people like the CeraVe Hydrating Cleanser, but I do really like that Cetaphil Gentle Cleanser as that cleansing step for someone with a disrupted skin barrier. And that SVR to pyalize is nice too.
Yes.
Nice.
I like their products. So to not ruin your skin barrier, you want to use ingredients and products that are suitable for your skin type. You want to take it easy with certain ingredients that you know are going to be beneficial, but can cause a bit of irritation in that early phase. So things like tretinoin. You want to try and avoid putting too many harsh exfoliating ingredients all on at the same time. Don't get overexcited that the product's worked for someone else and think that that's automatically going to work for you. Just understand your skin type. Go back to golden rule number 1, understand your skin type. And then golden rule number 2, help to support your skin barrier, maintain your skin barrier, and all the lovely bugs that live in your lovely ecosystem microbiome.